Cora was 6 to 7 years old and lived in a small American city. She had 3 children and was known as a quiet, polite woman, but behind her gentle smile was a lifetime of pain. Her story began the day she got married. At just 20 years old, she had dreamed of love, care, and happiness, but life chose differently for her. Her parents arranged her marriage to a man named Mark, a man who valued control more than kindness. He worked in an office and provided for the family, but when he came home, he didn't bring warmth or joy. In their first year together, Cora learned that her laughter meant nothing to him. He was strict and cold, and even the smallest things became reasons for anger. If dinner was late, he shouted. If the house wasn't spotless, he criticized her. Once, when she gently said, "I just want you to hold my hand," he looked at her and replied, "Life isn't a movie. Stop talking like a child." Those words stayed with her for years. Cora did what she was taught to do. She accepted her role as a wife and, later, a mother. When her first child was born, she hoped that the arrival of their baby might soften Mark's heart. Holding the newborn in her arms, she whispered, "Look, our son is our joy." But Mark only nodded and said, "Children mean more responsibility. Be ready." There was no smile, no tenderness. Still, Cora gave everything she had to her family. She cooked, cleaned, and stayed up through long nights when her babies cried. She gave love without ever receiving it. Many nights, she cried quietly into her pillow, whispering, "God, please make my life better." Years passed, and Cora became the backbone of the house. Mark never thanked her for her efforts. On weekends, instead of spending time with her, he buried himself in the newspaper or went out with friends. She spent her evenings alone, telling stories to her children to fill the silence. They loved her deeply, but they were too young to see the sadness behind her soft smile. They thought their father was simply serious, but only Cora understood the loneliness his silence created. Once, when she was too ill to cook, he told her coldly, "A wife who can't cook is useless." With tears in her eyes, she still forced herself to stand and make dinner. Divorce wasn't an option. She believed she had to keep her family together. "I can't break this home," she told herself. "The children need both parents." Time went by, and Cora learned to live in quiet pain. Her husband provided money but no affection. Sometimes she would look at him while he slept and feel like a stranger shared her bed. She often wondered when she had stopped being a wife and become just a servant. Her only comfort came from her children, their hugs, their laughter, and their love. Yet even that joy was sometimes taken from her, as Mark complained she was spoiling them. His coldness built a wall around her heart, but she never stopped dreaming of a kind word or a gentle touch. Then, one day, everything changed. Mark had a heart attack. Cora rushed him to the hospital, holding his hand despite all the hurt he had caused her. "Please don't leave," she whispered. "We still have a family." But his eyes closed, and he never opened them again. Sitting alone in the hospital room that night, Cora cried not just for his death, but for all the wasted years. I gave you my life, she whispered, and you never gave me love. When she returned home, the house felt painfully silent. The rooms seemed bigger, emptier, colder. She sat on the edge of her bed and whispered, "He's gone. What's left for me now?" Her children stayed for a few days to comfort her, but soon they left, returning to their own busy lives. At night, Cora walked through the house, staring at Mark's empty chair. "Even when you were here, I was alone," she said softly. "And now I'm truly alone." The days that followed were hard. Neighbors came to offer condolences, but when they left, no one stayed. Cora ate alone, slept alone, and lived with the heavy silence. One evening, she made a cup of tea and stared at it, remembering how she had once dreamed of marriage as a shared life. Now there was just one cup, one chair, one voice. Her body ached from years of hard work, and her spirit felt heavier than ever. Her children called sometimes, asking, "Mother, are you okay?" She always said yes, though her heart whispered no. On her birthday, the phone didn't ring. She lit a small candle on a piece of bread and said quietly, "Happy birthday, Cora," trying to smile through tears. Her loneliness grew, but she kept her pain to herself. She talked to Mark's photograph, saying, "You gave me children but never love. I gave you my life, and you left me empty." The days blurred together. She tried to stay busy, cleaning, cooking, doing laundry, but nothing mattered. "I do these things," she said to herself, "but for whom?" Each night she prayed for someone to sit beside her, to hold her hand, even for a moment. Her children rarely visited. Her eldest son, Michael, called to say he was too busy with work. Her second son, David, told her, "I can't waste time. You're strong. You'll manage." Her daughter, Anna, said her husband wouldn't be comfortable if Cora moved in. Cora smiled sadly and told them she understood, but after each call, she cried alone. One evening, she invited them all for dinner. She cooked their favorite dishes, her hands trembling with hope. But when they arrived, they spoke only of their work and looked at their phones. "My children," she said softly, "I'm old and alone. Can you stay with me sometimes? Just a little?" Michael sighed. "Mother, don't be childish. You're not alone. You have us." David frowned. "We can't sit idle. We have to work." Anna added, "If you live with me, my husband won't like it." Tears filled Cora's eyes. "Don't you see me?" she whispered. But they didn't. When she tried to speak again, David lost his temper and slapped her. "Stop making us feel guilty," he shouted. The sound of that slap echoed through her soul. When they left, Cora sat staring at the untouched food. "I cooked for you," she wept. "I waited, and you left me." That night she lay in bed, whispering, "I gave you my youth, my love, and my strength, and now you give me nothing, not even respect." Money became a problem, so she found a small job in a local store. The work was hard, and her back often ached, but she kept going. Some people treated her kindly, but others mocked her age. Old people shouldn't work, one young man said. They're too slow. His words hurt, but she whispered, I'm doing my best. One afternoon, she felt dizzy and almost fell while lifting a box. A man named Daniel caught her and helped her sit. You shouldn't do this alone, he said gently. His kindness surprised her. Over time, Daniel began helping her with small things, carrying heavy boxes, bringing her tea. You don't need to do this, she told him once. He smiled and said, it's not about need. It's about care. Those simple words warmed her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Cora began to look forward to work again. Daniel told her about his late wife, Linda, who had died of cancer. After she was gone, he said, people told me to be strong. But strength means nothing when your house is empty. Cora understood that kind of emptiness. Loneliness eats you from the inside, she whispered. They sat quietly together, two broken souls sharing the same silence. Daniel smiled softly and said, maybe God wanted us to meet to remind each other we're still alive. Their friendship grew. They shared lunch breaks, walked home together, and even laughed again. One afternoon, Daniel brought her ice cream. I haven't had ice cream with anyone in 30 years, she said. Then let's make it 31, he replied. She smiled for the first time in years. When she looked in the mirror that night, she saw a softness in her eyes that she thought was gone forever. But when she told her children about Daniel, they were furious. Are you not ashamed? They shouted. People will laugh at us. Cora cried quietly and said, you have your families, your lives. I'm not taking anything from you. I just want someone who cares for me. Her sons accused her of disrespecting their father's memory. One of them threw a family photo on the floor. Your father gave me silence, she said through tears. Is it wrong that I want love now? They warned her that if she married Daniel, she would lose them forever. Why can't you see me as human? She asked. I'm not just your mother, I'm Cora. That night, she sobbed in Daniel's arms. They hate me, she whispered. They think I'm wrong. Daniel held her close and said, you've spent your whole life pleasing others. It's time to live for yourself. The next morning, Cora looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair was grey, her face lined, but her eyes were steady. I want to marry Daniel, she said aloud. And she did. They left the city quietly and married with no guests, no flowers, just peace. For the first time, she felt seen. In their small new home, Cora found the happiness she had waited for all her life. They cooked together, laughed, and prayed. You gave me back my dignity, she told him one evening. You made me feel worthy again. News of her marriage spread quickly, and her children were angry at first. But when neighbors said, your mother looks happy now, guilt filled their hearts. One by one, they returned. Anna came first, crying, Mother, I was wrong. Michael followed, then David. Cora hugged them all and said, I never stopped loving you. Her home filled with warmth again, but this time it was real. Looking around the table, she whispered, "Love wins in the end." Cora's story wasn't one of shame, it was one of courage. At 67, she finally learned that life doesn't end with loss. It begins again when we find the strength to choose love, no matter what the world says.